Hello everyone, I am back with Kiki the Kitty. So like I said, I'm having other characters join me for different things I'm doing, and I chose Kiki today because today is the birthday of the real life Kiki, who is Monique. I used her nickname in my line and wishing Monique a most happy second birthday. Lots of love to you, sweetheart. For today, as promised, I'm starting doing one of my book readings, and I chose How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. This choice is differs from my others because it actually is a book that I fell in love with as an adult. Dr. Seuss is a huge inspiration. I always loved him as a child, was a huge fan as a little girl. As an adult woman, I like to say that my love for him has resonated even deeper for various reasons. And this book really touches my heart and is a treat to read that loud to you. Without further ado, I bring you How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Here we go. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath him was busy hanging their mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his grinchy fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then all the noise, noise. The one thing he hated, the noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more Grinch thought, I must stop the whole thing. Why, for 53 years, I put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? And then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quickie Santa Claus hat and coat. And he clucked and he clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No. the Grinch simply said. "If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead." So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all a-dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty sacks in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first to go." Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns, and plums. And then he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now the Grinch grinned, "I'll stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree and started to shove. Then he heard a small coo, like a coo of a dove. He turned around fast and saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed to get a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our tree? Why?" But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head and got her a drink and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On the walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was too small even for a mouse. Then he did the same to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who mouses. was 1/4 dawn. All the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze. Then he packed up his sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and the trappings. "3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-hoo to the Who's." He was grinchishly humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo." "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I must simply hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. And he stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, then shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinchy feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say, that Grinch's small heart grew 3 times the sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed the load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end. Thank you so much for joining Kiki and I. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed reading it. Again, wishing you a great start to the holiday season. Like I said, I think I do find the Grinch lovable at the end of the day, and I think he makes a beautiful transformation. I have more stories to share with you, and I'm super excited to share those with you, and I have other ideas I'm developing, which I will be sharing with you throughout the month as well. But thank you for joining me for my start of my Christmas celebration, and I bring you How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Till next time.